I would say in Hong Kong we have a lot of family-owned companies who I think are finding it difficult to accept that more transparency and accountability really is going to be good for them. There is a legacy and a culture of opacity, of insider management and control of companies, and of a sense that your outside shareholders aren't all that important. I think the key issue in Hong Kong is really mindset. I don't believe Hong Kong companies can't be good at corporate governance. I think they certainly can. But when you actually look at the absolute number of companies in Hong Kong that really stand out for corporate governance, or on corporate governance terms, it's rather small. And that, in fact, is very similar to every other market. Every market, we track 11 markets in Asia. And in every market, we find a relatively small number of companies actually really grabbing the corporate governance ball and running with it. What we do find interesting, though, is some mid-cap companies around the region starting to see, it's not just the big listed companies that are good at governance, but also some mid-caps that are really starting to see some value in it. But generally, the vast majority of listed companies and probably most private companies don't put a lot of effort into thinking about governance. And I think it really does come down to attitude and mindset. If they felt there was real value in it and they started to implement it, then they would see the benefits.
I don't think family-controlled companies are per se a problem. And in fact, statistics shows that family-controlled companies tend to perform better. So they produce better, higher shareholders' value. So family-controlled companies are not a problem as such. The problem is that because these companies are controlled by controlling shareholders, sometimes you find situations where the controlling shareholders would use complex corporate structure to try and strip the company of certain valuable assets through connected transactions or related party transactions. So the problem is, how do you prevent the controlling shareholders from taking advantage of the law and the structure to benefit themselves rather than benefit all the shareholders equally?
My own experience has been that we transform basically a family company where corporate governance, for some reason, by definition, is always questionable because it is family run and therefore family directed, to one of which is professionally run and professionally directed. And for us, corporate governance is a key thing. And the whole idea of taking it public was to bring in the corporate governance. And right away, that settled many issues for us. It was one of those things where corporate governance took the lead rather than capital raising. And I tell you what it did for us. First of all, with our shareholders, family shareholders, it gave them public scrutiny, which means that they don't have to personally participate in management in order to ensure the governance is proper for shareholders. So that gave us a regular dividend policy. Yes, that's required. It gave the shareholders value on their shares, which means that even if they didn't sell it, they could take it to a bank and mortgage it. Okay, and then in one fell swoop, we changed the whole perception to the other important stakeholder in the company, the management. Where right away, being a public company with all the corporate governance that came with it, okay, implied that we would be running the company properly, and that attracted for us the cadre of professional managers that allowed Li & Fung to grow from 1972-73 onwards to today.
The founder and their own family, their relative, their close associate, will be extremely devoted to the business. They will pay more attention to every detail of the firm. They will be very responsive and to some new changes. And in a sense, there will be high efficiency because a couple of people can make important decisions very quickly. Of course, also there are some good things. For example, you can be much more responsive to the market without going through different, hierarchical levels. There's always one single person who can make major decisions fast enough to cope with the, ever-changing environment. So if we can capitalize all these good attributes of family business, at the same time, we also adopt some modern professional corporate governance practice. I think that will create a very, very unique business model for the future. That's why I'm always very proud of Hong Kong. You can also see many family business. They are not really close the door and just treat the business as a family kind of asset. They try to open up for many outside professionals to work on the board, to work as senior management, adopt many good, Western practice, and combining the good thing of the family business and the modern, governance practice to make the firm even more successful. So I think Hong Kong can be a very unique place itself. It can create a model the whole world can follow in the future, combining the many good attributes of the family business and many, modern Western practice to make a very unique model. And actually, we are experimenting this kind of model for some years, and I think the whole world should pay more attention to those very successful family business in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, investor activism is still at a very nascent stage. Hong Kong investors have a reputation for being more interested in short-term profit rather than long-term investments. We asked our guests whether shareholders' apathy is holding back corporate governance reform in Hong Kong, and whether, with the increasing amount of pension money coming into the market via the Mandatory Provident Fund, we can look forward to longer-term investment horizons and more pressure from shareholders for higher corporate governance standards in the future.